Hello, so what we're going to be covering in this video is how you can go through and iterate through a list using a for loop in Python. So we're going to write a program that reads a list of integers into a list and then outputs the smallest and largest integers in the list. And the first input will let us know the number of integers that we will be reading into that list. So we will go ahead and get started. Oh, I opened up the wrong IDE, so let me close that out and open up Python. And then we need a new file. So I will just go ahead and increase the size of this. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create our list. So it'll just be user values, and that will equal an empty list. So the next thing we're going to have the user do is input begins with an integer indicating the number of integers that will follow. Okay, so number of values will be our variable, and that will equal int. And then again, we need to convert it to an integer. Again, it's first, when it's inputted, it's a string, and we need it as an integer value. So we're going to prompt the user with enter the number of integers in the list. Okay, so we'll prompt the user for that information. So now what we can do is we can get a list of integers from our input. Get list of integers from input. And we're going to use that for loop to go ahead and do that. So it'll just be for I in range. And we know the number of values, which is our num values variable. So basically this will iterate as long as I is not greater than num of values. So we're going to gather the user input in another variable, and we're going to prompt again the user and convert whatever the user inputs into an integer. So we're just going to prompt the user to enter an integer. Okay, and then once the user inputs the integer, then all we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and append that value to our user values list. Okay, so that's all our for loop will consist of. So I'll just hit enter a couple times and then I'll backspace. And now we're just going to print our output. So we'll just print output, and what we want to do is we want to print the maximum and minimum number in our list. So we'll just use a print statement, and the maximum integer entered was, and then we'll use a comma, and then we're just going to use the max function on a list to determine that maximum value. Okay, so that'll get our max value. And then we'll just go ahead and print out the minimum. And there's a min function that will go iterate through our list and determine the minimum value. Okay, so that looks like that is what our program should consist of. I'll just go ahead, click on run module. It'll ask me to save this. I will go into my CIS 150 Python directory, and what I'm going to save this is min max. And we will go ahead and save it. It should run. So enter the number of integers in the list. I want 6, so I'll enter 6. I'll go 5, -3, 2, 4, -7, and 8. And the max was 8, and the minimum was of -7. So it looks like our program is running correctly. Again, how we iterated through the list and saved the values in the list was using a for in range loop. And then as the value of I increases, it will continue to run until I is greater than num values. It'll drop out of the loop and it'll print our max and minimum integers. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video, so we will talk to you later.